Thank you. I'll declare the meeting opened and welcome everyone. First of all, 1.1, apologies for absence.
We have none, Ms Mayor. Ms Councillor Evans is on Zoom.
Yep, I'll get to that one. There being no apologies, we have Councillor Evans on Zoom. Can I have a mover that Councillor Evans, moved by Councillor McDonald, second by Councillor Mallard. All in favour? Aye. Live streaming and recording. 1.2, this council meeting is being live streamed and recorded. By speaking at this council meeting, you agree to be live streamed and recorded. Please ensure that if and when you speak at this council meeting that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Orange City Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this council meeting. A recording of this council meeting will be made for administration purposes. 1.3 is acknowledgement of country. I would like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land. I'd also like to pay respect to elders both past, present of the Wiradjuri nation and extend that respect to other Aboriginal Australians who are present. Item 1.4 is declaration of interest. Does any councillor wish to declare any conflicts of interest for any matter for consideration of tonight's meeting?
Mayor, I'd like to point out that in item 5.3, outstanding update on outstanding completed resolutions, there are a number of resolutions in. I believe we're noting the record.
Any others? No others. I'll adjourn the meeting for the conduct of the open forum. We have one speaker tonight, which is on behalf of Councillor Floyd, who invited the YAC Youth Action Council. Is that right? To come along and tell us a bit about themselves. So I'll introduce Ms Jess Wan on behalf of the committee to come up and make a presentation. I'll just introduce the councillors. Come up. I'll just introduce the councillors. I'll go around the table. Councillor Miletto, Councillor Kinghorn, Councillor Evans, who's on Zoom, Councillor Floyd, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Peterson, Councillor Mallard, Councillor Power, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Greenhouse, and Councillor Whitten. And Councillor Power is our Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Yeah, sure.
So would you like me to start while they're being handed out then, I suppose? Yeah, okay, perfect. So as you have previously mentioned, on Tuesday the 28th of June of this year, Councillor Floyd came to our Youth Action Council meeting just in regards to one of the Orange City Council's reports, saying that there was 5 main things that general members of the public in Orange were looking at and the needs in the community. So in response to that, here at YAC, we have come up with a few ideas of these 5 things that we believe would be amazing for you to support us here at Youth Action Council. So I will just start and just go sort of chronologically on this report. So we have free festivals as our first one. So Youth Action Council currently has Beach to Bush as a free music festival that we actually currently We're looking forward to continuing this, and additionally we are currently researching options to create a rainbow festival celebrating Orange's diversity of the LGBTQIA+ community. Secondly, we're looking at a dedication for in-town recycling centre. The YAC has been intrigued by companies such as TerraCycle, who help communities to create a designated recycling spot to be able to learn about recycling to use these facilities. Thirdly, we're currently in something which is known as the Ruby Project. So Youth Action Council, along with the Orange Rotary, are currently working on a project to provide a place for young people to be able to go to when they need space away from their home for a few nights. The project would have the young person stay no longer than 3 nights. Workers would contact parents and guardians to provide a space to discuss strategies to help the family. YAC would like councillors to know this project. However, we do not wish for assistance with this at this time. Additionally, we are looking at a potential to have free public Wi-Fi in the CBD. YAC suggests that Orange City Council could have the option of free Wi-Fi in the CBD. This would assist in the current active Orange initiative, as it would allow entertainment to individuals to increase the amount of time in the CBD and chances of people purchasing things in the stores that are currently there. Additionally, it adds an extra amount of safety for young people, as they have access to the ability to contact family in case of emergency by having access to that Wi-Fi. YAC has noticed that other communities of similar sizes, such as Bathurst and Wollongong, have been able to create this for their population. We propose researching how these councils have been successful in their free Wi-Fi rollout and to do something similar. The next one is a all-in-one sort of course. So we're looking at maybe a potential of the Ninja Fit course, indoor skate park, archery, and a potential of a pop-up smash room. So we have sort of noticed that the Mayor and other councillors have shown their enthusiasm to the Orange community to have the old Bunnings building at the Homemakers Centre, having that developed into 4 separate tenancies within the one building. Provided that that proposal is accepted, YAC proposes the use of a tenancy to have these opportunities met. Another one that we are looking at is an arcade. So similar to Time Zone and things such as that would be something that Orange would really like. So in the past, we've had something known as Piccadilly, however, that no longer exists. A local Justin has contacted YAC to advise he is in the process of creating a business similar, known as Pixel Palace. Aware of the need to create a physical space for this, he has attained many arcade machine equipment for laser tag area and funding to add a pool table and possibly mini golf. Informed YAC that whilst this is all sorted and going smoothly, he has had issues finding a private lease agreement with current local businesses. Therefore, YAC comes to Council today in support of Justin to request support in securing a lease, preferably long-term, to provide this opportunity to all of the community and in particular young people. Justin is in search of a premises that is 12,000 to 13,000 square metres of space that also has toileting facilities. Justin plans to have food and drink amenities from a fridge, and YAC are inquiring to see if the council has a space available that they could possibly suggest for Justin to rent. Alternatively, looking for financial aid in rent assistance to get this small business up and running. Again, it would be an amazing addition to recreation options for all audience ages, however, a big emphasis on the younger generations. Some councillors may be aware that we currently have what's known as an Unlock Orange app. So that was the augmented art app that we have created. We have looked at this app and the potentials of expanding it. Some may be aware of Student Edge, which is a national website for young people in Australia who have expanded their projects over time. They currently have an app that provides discounts to youth. However, YAC has found that these discounts currently focus on stores and organisations that are mostly found within major cities. YAC believes that Orange would flourish with a similar design, however, it needs to be more specific to our community. Orange has had the company known as Start Beyond create the Unlock Orange app. And we are intending to expand on this app by adding local discounts or deals that local shops and businesses can provide. Ideally, this would be set up in a similar way to how apps such as Service New South Wales or the My Macca's app is used. The discounts or deals are loaded onto the app with an expiry date and are refreshed after a certain amount of time with new and returning deals depending on the business. YAC believes that this will assist lower income populations of Orange, especially youth, to be able to access entertainment, food and other items easily, while also helping to boost the local economy. This aligns with the Orange City Council's Activate Orange strategic plan, in particular the Future City aspect. Within year 1, it would expand the Fortifer program of business and retail support. In addition to creating an entry-level website for businesses, proposes with funding from Orange City Council, we would be able to and proud to help our community small businesses to have a chance to reach further audiences and gain more exposure with these discounts. YAC would contact these businesses and have Start Beyond to expand our app, preventing the need for another app for our population and tourists to download. The last one on the list is a central Orange Youth Hub. YAC has seen much success with the Centre Youth Hub at 33 Garema Road. We've seen many youth access services for people 12 to 24. It is a place to seek assistance with schoolwork, create community engagement, assist equal access to free Wi-Fi, arts, sports and music equipment, and a safe space for the youth. YAC would like to ensure the secure future of the Youth Hub. YAC is looking for a more central address than Garema Road to allow easier accessibility for youth to encourage a higher attendance. YAC proposes to also have a cafe in this location. This would create many opportunities. It would allow a welcoming environment where youth can complete work experience in a retail and hospitality setting, whilst providing food and beverages with a youth focus to help youth make independent and healthier decisions and create an income for the youth hub. Overall, YAC is requiring or requesting support by having Orange City Council assist in funding in some or all of these projects. YAC is also seeking support in finding physical locations within Orange to create these spaces. We request that these opportunities are supported in such a way that costs are kept low or free of charge due to the specific demographic not having an income that allows much or any disposable income. Thank you.
Thanks, Jess. Thank you very much.
Well done.
That's a pretty comprehensive action plan, and we thank you for that. We do have a mini budget coming up in September, so I'm sure Councillor Floyd might bring some of those to the party. Did you want to say anything, Councillor Floyd, about what?
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just like to thank Katrina and the boys and girls for the work they put into this. As it was stated at the start of it, back at the start of the year when we brought in the CSP, the Community Strategic Plan, it was asked, for the 5 top things, and of course, youth and things for youth to do was the number one thing. So I think that getting the guys in to speak about this is vitally important to how we run our business and to how council certainly moves forward in the next 3 to 4 years of planning. So just personally congratulate all of you for the work you've done. And one thing I would like to see is we'd just like to get down to get some costings done of some of these projects moving forward. So we've got some costings on the table, and then we can move forward with that. But outside of that, it's all the ideas I personally think are brilliant, and well done to all of you. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Okay, I'll open the council meeting again, and I will move on to item 2, which is 2.1 mayoral minutes, which is the Chief Executive's Performance Review Panel. I'd like to nominate Councillor Greenhalgh, showed an interest in being one of the panel members. Move the recommendation with a nomination from Councillor Greenhalgh. You'll second that, Councillor Whitten. Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Councillor Mel Donnell also.
Who, sorry?
Donnell.
Me, apparently.
Sorry, I'll speak up a little louder.
We have a seconder? Okay, well, we're going to have to raise a show of hands.
Can also nominate another person.
Certainly can.
I also nominate Councillor Francis Kinghorn if she's willing to take that up too.
Yep.
Process of.
Okay. Well, we've got 2 nominations. I'll put it to the vote. Is that what we're doing? Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, we've got 5.
Does the 2 do they 2 accept? Before we go any further?
Yeah.
Yep.
May I ask a question, Mr. Mayor? Is it possible to have 5 instead of 4, or does it need to be?
That's a good question.
Mr. Chair, no. I think
Feedback.
I think the local government says that in the report. So, okay. Well, I'll put Councillor Greenhalgh. All those in favour of Greenhalgh?
6 on screen.
Yeah, you got to vote.
Yeah, you've got to vote too on there too.
Greenhalgh wins by definition.
So I'll put the 5 recommendations as Councillor Greenhalgh is now the other councillor. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to item 3.1. It's the confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Thank you, Councillor Whitten. A seconder. Councillor Floyd. Any discussion? Being no discussion, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. There being no notices of motions or rescission motions, I'll move on to item 5.1, recommendations and resolutions from policy committee meetings.
Move the recommendation.
Councillor Mallard, can I have a seconder? Councillor McDonald, any speakers? Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, I just want clarification from the Director of Infrastructure. How are we travelling with Clergate Road? Where are we at with that? As we have, how long before we get a tender in front of us to vote on that to proceed with the work? We appear to be a long way behind.
Thank you, Councillor. Very timely question. We have opened tenders. We're assessing tenders and we'll have a report to the next council meeting. Thank you.
Any other speakers? No other speakers. I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Matter arising from the traffic committee.
Yep.
I suppose just to reiterate, and I believe there's already a motion going to the committee about cars parked right near the
That's correct. It's still to come to the traffic committee.
Thank you, Councillor Whitten. I'll move on to item 5.2, which is statement of investments. Moved by Councillor Duffy. Floyd, any discussion? There being no... Councillor Greenhouse.
Mr Chair, our CFO acting is not here this evening. Mr Maunder, have you got any insights to that? Why we don't invest in a AAA?
Sorry, Mr Chair, could you just repeat the question, please? I couldn't hear it, sorry.
Greenhouse's mic just disappeared with the battery. The question is, Councillor Evans, why don't we invest in AAA ratings?
Thank you.
So, from memory, through you, Mr Chair, there's parameters set for each of the levels. So, and the investment team that sits in finance looks at the best return for council. Traditionally, the AAA produce the lowest return on the investments. We don't have to invest in AAA. So they tend to try to obtain the best return for council. So when they look at the matrix of what's available, they choose what's before them. As I said, I don't think there's a requirement to have a minimum holding in AAA from memory. And so then they just use the parameters investment strategy that they can use to get the best returns.
Excellent, thank you.
There being no other questions, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to item 5.3, which is update on outstanding and completed resolutions of council, including questions taken on notice, matters arising and notices of motion. Can I have a mover, please? Donald, Councillor Peterson seconded. Any discussion, questions?
Just got a question, page 48 on the notice of motion from the 7th of June. The update comment there says awaiting information, liaising with New South Wales Government. I would have thought that a lot of this information is accessible.
Mr Chair, Mr Maunder, I think this might be yours. Are we talking about the report? Yes, okay. Gotcha. Care to comment, Mr Maunder?
So we're working through the design parameters for the site and updating the costs around those. So it has shifted a little bit to what it was even 6 months ago. So the prices are increasing over time and we're just refining some of the elements. So Council will recall the tender for the civil work that was recently before it, and the variation between the QS pre-tender and then the amount that was received. So pulling together an accurate number is what we're trying to do. So it's just taking a little bit longer to get that information
an accurate number
together.
is not really going to be possible, but I guess like we're after an idea at least.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
So, yeah, I've just got a couple of questions also. So on page 43, the staff investigate the stocking of stormwater harvesting wetlands with appropriate fish species, including trout, silver perch, golden perch, in line with New South Wales regulations. So in the comment section, they've noted investigation continues into the possibilities of licensing and the like for restocking. There are some technical issues to work through. I was just wondering what those technical issues may be.
Okay, through Mr Chair, I can answer that one. Councillor Floyd and I have had a meeting to discuss really how to attack this, some of the previous motions that I think Councillor Romano had. So we're coming at it from a couple of ways. Indeed, Councillor Floyd was good enough to attend a meeting of the Orange Trout Acclimatisation Society on Saturday with the Mayor, and I'm keen to get his feedback from that. We've also contacted the Department of Fishing. You can't just stock, so we have to meet with fisheries. We've got to clearly think about our water quality. So step by step, basically it will be gained from fisheries the information as to what the species of fish would be appropriate, where in Orange, because we've got quite a few water bodies we can put them in, get a program that would be approved by fisheries, talk to OTAS to see whether they'd be willing, because they do stocking already, to maybe do the stocking for us, etc., come up with a program and then present that back to council. We've really got nothing to report yet concrete, why we haven't come back yet.
And just a second question I had was from the motion Councillor Duffy put forward on the 15th of the 3rd in relation to sending a letter off to government associations.
Page
44.
Council.
So it's the bottom one there, the 15th of the 3rd. The council agrees to support and participate in the Australian Local Government Association advocacy for their endorsement of national funding priorities by writing to the local federal members of parliament, etc.
Sorry.
Yeah, so just a question, like we're 3 months on and there's still a letter to be written. So I was just concerned that it was taking us 3 months to write a letter.
Point taken, a rash of letters went out this week and last week, so I just confirm. Is that one of those letters? No, it wasn't. Okay. Take your point. Take your point, Councillor.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. Just a few questions from me. On page 49, I can see at the top that we've got one of the resolutions relating to preparing a homelessness policy that came out of the local housing strategy resolution. And I know there were a whole bunch of other things we resolved that staff would start working on that aren't in this report at the moment. I'm not expecting there's been opportunity for progress on things, so I'm assuming that the other ones will be coming through as we get something to report. Is that correct?
What page are you on, Councillor Mallard?
Page 49 at the top.
49 top, yep, thank you.
Through you, Mr Mayor, just to update on the local housing strategy. So just this week it's been finalised, the amendment. So with the adoption, there was a lot of amendments made to it from the original draft. So we've just finalised all of those now. So that's gone off to the Department of Planning. And now following that is when the additional policy work starts to commence. So that'll happen later as this year progresses.
Thanks. Yeah, and I'm assuming
all the resolutions,
they'll start to come through in the reports as staff start working on them. Great, excellent. Thanks for that. Because obviously the housing summit, which was one of the things I'll be very keen to see where we're going on that. I think that will hopefully a lot of ideas that will help then inform that policy work as well. The other thing, while I've got you, Director, related to that was one of those resolutions was for an audit of council land to look at what might be suitable for Partnership for Social and Affordable Housing Developments, potentially. I think all the councillors have been contacted recently by someone relating to the EOIs for the old sale yard site for industrial development, and questioning or suggesting that maybe that land could be considered for residential development for social and affordable housing. I'm wondering, can we make sure there's an assessment of viability of that land as part of the, I know the full audit will obviously be a larger process, but if we've got EOIs potentially to make decisions on it, would be good to know what the prospects will be for that as a residential site.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll take that on notice. Thanks.
Thanks.
Councillor Duffy.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got three actually. The first one's on page 47, which relates to Maramba Road, which come in on the 3rd of May or 3rd of May. Mr. Anderson has been annoying the living daylights out of me and probably hopefully some others as to where we're at. I notice there's no real action there, so I just...
Which one's this one?
Page 47.
Rutherford Road?
No, we're talking about the matter at Maramba Road.
Fourth box
It's
down.
about the fourth one down. So I'll bring that to attention. I'll give Mr. Anderson's number to the director. The next one is resolved. It's on page 49. It's the second one down as regards to Councillor Miletto and Councillor McDonald removed, and where it says we've engaged an arborist regards to that resolution there. Do we have access onto that property? If we don't have access, what is the process if we don't have access onto that property?
Mr. Hodges, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, that would be access would be around enforcement of the Planning Act and the original consent that are related to the site. So we can arrange it. We're in the process at the moment of engaging the consultant through our legal team. So the access provisions will be when we discuss it with the neighbours, the owners rather, how they actually feel about that. So we can legally go in there to determine whether or not compliance with consent has been achieved.
So we've had no discussion with the owners at all as regards to accessing the property?
I'm not aware that we have had it yet, because we're still just finalising the arborist.
So we're going to now spend money legally on getting access to the place, or getting prepared to access the place.
The council resolution is for a report to be prepared, investigation into the demise of the tree. That's what we're doing.
Next one.
And the third one, Mr. Mayor, and I can't find it on here anywhere. It's here, but I noticed that it appeared in the paper as regards to the lone pine tree. And my question is, which is just wait, has there been any cost to council? Whole process of shifting power lines and whatsoever?
Through Mr. Chair, no. The tree work that was done, not very well, was done by a contractor to Essential Energy.
Yeah, I'm talking about
at their cost.
Yeah, there's going to be no cost to council whatsoever in replacing the tree or anything like that at all.
When we replace the tree and cut it down, we will incur a cost, but believe me, we will be sending that bill to Essential Energy.
Yep, okay.
There being no other speakers, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. I'll move on to item 5.4, which is the report on the 2022 bulky waste service. Does anyone...
I'm happy to move it, Mr. Chair, as long as we just do A.
Have a seconder? Second that, Councillor Floyd. I'll open it up for discussion.
So is the motion now just 1 and A?
That's correct.
Just as a point of clarification, the opportunity is there still for the ratepayers to come and get a...
Through Mr. Chair, just to clarify, Yeah, so 1 plus 2A means that everyone will get a bulky waste service in February 2023. I think also you can get extra ones based on a ticket system anytime you like, based on a fee.
Yeah, that's what
Councillor Kinghorn.
Sorry, I don't agree that we shouldn't discuss the options. I am curious as to why there are only those two options and why there isn't something that's a little bit more user-friendly. I mean, obviously, $220.25 is too expensive for most people, so that's not really an option. But the bulky waste service itself, we do look a bit like a rubbish tip for a month, and I can't understand why, as other councils do, we can't have a system where people can ring up and book a bulky waste service that's a lot cheaper than that if it's done sort of in blocks. So I've been doing a bit of research, and so if people still pay the $11.95 or 22 cents a week, it gives an amount of about $210,000. Now, based on last time, if only 40% of people use the bulky waste pickup, then that comes out at about $30 each. So it obviously can be done more cheaply than $220. The council that I looked at was the Hills Shire Council in Sydney, which has a population about 4 times ours, about a third more square kilometres. The waste charge is the same, and they do have like 3 times the rate payers. But there, twice a year, you can ring and book a bulky waste pickup, and they will allocate you a day. And then presumably if other people in the same area do it, then they'll do that. It's actually allocated. So I think that there should be another option, I think, where people can actually do this, and it should be cheaper than that if they're clever about how it's done. So I think I'm asking for an amendment to the motion because I think there should be another option to that one. I think we should at least investigate it or defer it and look at how other councils do it. I think that
You'll move the amendment. You're seconding it, Councillor Miletto. A deferral, or another see if there's any more options.
Well, I think there obviously are other options, and I was a little surprised to see that these were the only two, one which is clearly not suitable and one which is just the status quo. So I just think that there should be a little bit more investigative work done to see.
So you're moving an amendment for seeing if there's further options.
Apparently I am.
Yeah, and you're seconding that, Councillor Miletto?
So just to clarify.
Hang on. So we've got the motion which Councillor Duffy moved with.
Well, I could be quite, if they're asking for a deferral.
Yep.
Again.
Yep.
I'm quite happy to withdraw the motion.
Right.
You're withdrawing your motion. Perhaps Councillor Kinghorn now owns the motion, which is a motion of deferral.
Yes.
And needs a seconder, which is Councillor Miletto.
And Councillor Whitten has a question.
A couple of questions. So I'm right in thinking, based on the report here, that if we went with option A, which we're now, that all the ratepayers in Orange would have a rate rise of $11.60. Only $11.60.
Do you want do you want the director to answer that question?
Load him up.
If we didn't go with option A and we went with option B, then that rate rise would not happen. Anybody who rings and books and wants to have up, then costs them $200.
You want him to answer
yes,
those?
Thank you. Through the chair, if they're your two questions. Yes.
I would bombard you like council.
No dramas. The $220 fee is the fee for a once-off pickup, as it's explained there, and it involves going around with a smaller truck to go and pick up that single service of a couple of cubic metres. When they do a campaign of bulky waste pickup, J.R. Richards brings a team in with a specialist truck to do that campaign. And so our booking traditionally has been in February. It's after the summer break and after people have had their summer holidays and what have you, and may have been able to have a chance to do their spring clean or something, but we also looked at a spring option, but those had already been taken up, so those resources weren't available to do a campaign pickup. And I don't believe at the moment J.R. Richards have the resources to do a campaign such as what's been proposed as an alternative to investigate, but happy to investigate it in that we do the campaign where we book in advance a group of people to do a bulky waste pickup. I don't think there's that much call for the service when it's been certainly at the dearer price, and I can understand why it's not. But it's one of those things that may be some commercial risk for J.R. Richards to undertake that at a much lower price.
Can I?
In response to the first question you asked was, no, there is a special levy already in everyone's rates. We have a window of opportunity before the next rates assessment goes out in September and we were mindful of Council's concern about the cost of living to its ratepayers, and given that the bulky waste pickup isn't utilised by the majority of ratepayers, it's less than 50% of the ratepayers that take it up. We thought it'd be open to give it up as an option to council to go back to a full user pay fee arrangement, which was what was in place about 3-4 years ago. Mindful that the service has been reasonably popular and reasonably well received, but not necessarily utilised by more than 50% of the rate base. So it's a way you'd actually reduce the rates going forward and take that fee off there if you chose to, or we could bring a secondary report up. I am mindful that you had a third question in reserve there.
That's more now. I'll speak to the motion, Mr. Earl, only for the simple reason that it is a bit of a dilemma, because we don't know really what the community are thinking. What we need to do as part of the deferral is also find out what we are doing. If we go with charging everybody the $11.60, a lot of people won't be using it. One of the other options is that, which we've discussed for years, allow people to use it. That way we wouldn't go around to every...
Sorry, Councillor Whitten, can you repeat that? I can't quite hear you. Sorry.
What's it snowing, Councillor? Sorry.
Which part? 3 years away.
Yeah, I know. So, carry on. I've lost my place. So, if we had skip bins that were strategically placed where people could go and put them in, then we'd only need one truck to go and pick up the skip bin, right? Like going around the street. So that's why I'm speaking in support of the deferral. Where we may need to liaise with the staff to give them our ideas. Those ideas may be fruitless because of cost, but we could certainly give them some ideas, and we've discussed this before. But certainly, if we went for item B, where it's a user pay system, then we have the other dilemma where people can't afford to do that.
Yeah. That was my point.
You have $120, right? So we've got to come up with a scheme that doesn't penalise anybody.
Have you got any comment? No.
Thank you for asking me, Mr. Chair. If the part of Part B is also that you can take your used white goods, bulky waste white goods to the tip at no charge. You can take green waste at no charge to the tip as well. Any of those recyclable items or bulky items that would generally go through the resource recovery shop, it can also be dumped at no cost, or any of those items that we take under the community recycling centre can also be taken there at no cost. So it's the fee is just that one-off item for if you want a service at your doorstep.
Councillor Peterson.
I just had a question. In the past, when there was no sort of bulky waste collection, was there an increase in the number of stuff dumped, say, illegally in Kinloss Forest or similar? Objectively, you might think there was, but I wanted to know if you had any feedback on that, if the service just reduced illegal dumping.
Certainly, that's one of the activities we try and discourage, and the bulky waste cleanup does assist with that process.
Councillor Greenhalgh.
And that's probably just one of my concerns is we've just got to be careful for the lower socioeconomic areas, like for them to come up with $220 and more those renters, I guess. But I guess once the charge is in place, then the rental market's got the opportunity to pass that on in smaller increments. So I think we've just got to be conscious about that as well.
Councillor Duffy was next.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I want to go to the issues that I'm happy to support the deferral. I'm quite happy with the resolution the way it is, actually, but happy to support the deferral. Hopefully the Director will address the issue of the economy of scale when it comes to when we're talking about Sydney councils and all those type of things. There, we don't have that here compared to what the bigger councils are. And I also would like to revert to the comment that the Director made as regards to whether our waste management services provider have the capability of delivering extra services and all those type of things there. I take Councillor Whitten's point as regards to placing bins around, but as someone who travels all over Orange and down nearly every street, there is an Orange I know very well. In some of the streets, you probably need about 4 or 5 bins. So I think the opportunity, the way we had a massive discussion over the years in this chamber about the way we handled this. We tried to get 2 a year, but it was a situation where we had to increase rates, and we didn't really want to do that because we were aware of the issues that we were imposing on people that were rental properties and all those type of things there. But as I said, I'm happy to support the deferral, but let's address all the issues.
Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to speak in favour of the deferral too, but just bring up a point. For many years, and I take Councillor Greenhall's comment with the low socioeconomic side of it, I'm more than aware for many, many years that Department of Justice now called housing in the precinct of Bowen and Glenroy have provided during the Christmas periods for Christmas skip bins for them to deliver for the household to clean up prior to Christmas, and then again in January to clean up afterwards. I think, and I do take Councillor Kinghorn's position on this here too, I think there's a bit more research in relation to how we set. Again, what Councillor Duffy mentioned too, you don't want to have bins on every corner. I know the area that I live in, Orange, we are more than comfortable to take those ones out. But when you look at the 2 precincts, the Glenroy and Bowen precincts with the low socioeconomics housing areas, I think that there can be maybe a working arrangement with Department of Community and Justice Housing in relation to how that may work too.
Thanks, Councillor Power. Councillor Miletto.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Whilst I agree in principle with the idea of skip bins, I'm just wondering how that would work. Bearing in mind that where would you put the skip bins? You're going to put them strategically around the city. You obviously wouldn't put them on a footpath. They're not a registered vehicle, so you wouldn't be able to put them on the side of the road. You'd encounter all types of liability issues. I'm just wondering, I'm interested in a report coming back to find out, to understand how we'd manage those challenges. My understanding is that you wouldn't be allowed to put them on the road, the footpath either.
Thanks, Councillor Miletto. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Ms Mayor. Yeah, look, I support the deferral. I think this is a tricky one where we're either getting all ratepayers to pay for a service that less than half are using, or we charge an absolute arm and a leg to access it as you need it. So I think this is a great opportunity to look at other options and to be a little bit innovative in what we do to address this. So I support the motion.
Councillor Mallard.
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I'm also in support of the deferral. Yeah, I do think this is a tricky one when I look at it. I'm concerned with the, option A of the collection, the recovery rate the resource recovery rate being pretty low. And I did hear from a number of community members who believed when the trucks were going around, it looked like basically everything was being thrown into the crusher, including things that looked like they could have been recovered. So I think we need, this report not only needs to look at the cost issues, but the issues in terms of what's in our best interest in terms of resource recovery. And that is, I would emphasise, not only an environmental impact, but that is a long-term economic issue for council as well if we've got more stuff going to landfill. So, hopefully we can find a way that gets it right, because when I looked at the $220 charge, I could immediately think that the people who can't afford to do their own drive out Ophir Road are going to be the same people who won't be able to afford to pay for that collection to come. So, I know council over a long time has spent a lot of time talking about it. It's a tricky one to get exactly right, but let's take the time and work on it. Thanks.
Councillor Floyd.
Yeah, look, it won't take up too much time, but I had quite a few things listed here, but I'll just break it down to two, and it's basically facts and figures around this. The report said that the removal there back in last February of the waste was a non-essential service, but it moved over 530 tonne of goods. So to me, that doesn't make that a non-essential service in that respect, especially when you take into account there would have been a lot of pilfering going on from people walking around grabbing stuff at their leisure. So that 530 tonne was probably quite a lot more. So there certainly is a need for this. And the second one is I noticed that the figures showed that there was a 7% increase in the take-up from 2021 to 2022. So if we go on that figure alone, which I can't see why it wouldn't, we're up over 50%. So being more than 50% of eligible households wanting to do this, I think there's definitely is the need for it, and I think it also justifies either the the $12 increase, or as we're talking about now, I'm certainly in favour of the deferral. But I can see, just going on the figures alone, this is a big issue, and we certainly need to look at it in more depth for sure.
I'll just make a couple of comments. I think deferral, and we can get all things on the table, will help us make a decision here. And I know previous councils have debated. Councillor Duffy said, and this topic was fairly hot. One or two or none. I know. I like the idea of the your say. Asking the people whether they're quite happy to do the $11 rate rise. I think we need, and I think this deferral will get a few options on the table. I think we do have to remember our contractor for the waste too, J.R. Richards, and what they can and can't do. I think that's very important. So I'm sure all that information will come back. Councillor Kinghorn, did you want to close the debate?
A couple of things. I don't think we need skip-ins at all. The $11.95, it was $11.60, so it's a 35-cent increase. So most people would probably be happy with that. I think having the bulky waste pickups benefit everybody, whether you use it or not, because you're not having rubbish everywhere. And I do worry a little bit about all that stuff from the fact that it looks awful. I do worry about our culpability if somebody injures themselves rummaging through it. If everybody paid the $11.95, then you get this pool of $210,000. If you had, if you charge $220.25 per pickup, you could have 941 pickups if people rang up to get it. So all I'm saying in its simple form is to have that $11.95 paid, so you've got that pool of funds, and just be a bit intelligent with how you pick them up. So if you can put people in the same area on the same day or the same week, then it should cost less than that. Just think it should be doable. It should be simple. I don't know why it has to be so complicated. We could allow people once a year. I just mentioned what they do in the Hillside because they are able to do it with 2 a year with a lot more people. And it's the very economies of scale to which Councillor Duffy referred that makes me think that they should be able to do it more cheaply than that. So that's my proposal, is to, yes, get everybody to pay because it does benefit everybody, but let's just do it smartly.
Okay, so the recommendation is a deferral and a report to come back to council. And that report would have to come back because we're talking about September, obviously, for the cost to be incurred. So that report would have to come back pretty soonish, correct?
We will get it back to you as soon as possible.
Okay.
And the motion I'm taking means looking at.
You're looking at further options. Okay, I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Unanimous. There being no closed meeting, I will declare the meeting closed at 7:21, and thank you all for your attendance.
Yeah, Jake.